Breaking at this hour, President Trump ramping up threats of immigration crackdowns as well as crime enforcement in major cities across America. Chicago, Boston, and promises from the White House border czar that more cities are coming. This morning, a new city the president is targeting, Baltimore. And Baltimore's Mayor Brandon Scott is vowing to fight back, saying the city does not need federal troops. Listen.
We don't need an occupation. We need a federal government that is working the right way to reduce gun violence, and that's the way that we've been doing it here in Baltimore.
With me now is the mayor of another major American city, Detroit's Mayor Mike Duggan. Mike Duggan, he also is right now running for governor of Michigan, which we will get to. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It has been, we were saying, it's been a moment since I've seen you in person, so I appreciate your time. So you have the mayor. Let's talk about what's going on in Illinois and Chicago. The mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois, they're pushing back very hard against these enforcement efforts and the threats coming from President Trump that he's going to be moving in with federal law enforcement. What would you do if he wanted to do the same in Detroit?
Well, of course, neither the president or anybody from the administration has suggested that. When I got elected in 2013, we had 750 carjackings, the most in America.
Right.
This year we'll have fewer than 75. We've been down 90%. Detroit's the city that other police departments are coming to see how we've gotten the violence down. And this year, we've actually had a partnership with the Trump administration. The U.S. attorney that President Trump put in, Jerome Gorgan, has doubled the number of federal prosecutors prosecuting gun crimes, and we are going to have the fewest homicides this year since 1965. I'm not sure what the reason is, but we have the kind of partnership with the Trump administration that Mayor Scott has been looking for in Baltimore. They're working with us prosecuting the gun violence, not trying to disrupt what we're doing.
It's actually really noteworthy, and something I was thinking about knowing that you were coming in is that, I mean, the president has targeted Detroit before. I remember vividly when he was giving a speech during the campaign saying if Kamala Harris wins, that every city in America is going to be just like Detroit, saying that in front of a bunch of people from Detroit. But and according to FBI stats, Detroit is still, while major progress has been made, Detroit is among the cities facing some of the highest crime rates still across the country, according to FBI stats. But again, Detroit has not been mentioned by Donald Trump once this round. Why do you think that is?
So you look at what happened in the 4-day Labor Day weekend, where a lot of cities in the country, you reported, are huge numbers of shootings, one city upwards of 50 shootings. That 4-day weekend, Detroit had 8. We have changed the trajectory. I'm not telling you we've solved the problem, because I think 8's far too many, but we actually have a partnership with our local violence prevention folks, county sheriff, but we have the ATF, the DEA, and the Justice Department has been helping us shut these gangs down. And I think the fact that we're working together with the Trump administration to bring the violence down, I would hope you start to see more cities move to that kind of partnership.
But candidly, there's a lot of politics at play here. Do you think that any of this, the fact that, let's just say, Detroit and Michigan has not been targeted by Trump on this, has anything to do with the fact that the outgoing governor, Gretchen Whitmer, has taken a decidedly different approach to President Trump than you've seen with the governor of Illinois or the governor of California? Gretchen Whitmer has worked with the president rather than taken an adversarial anti-Trump approach.
Well, there's no question. Michigan is benefiting from the fact that Governor Whitmer went to D.C. I mean, she saved 5,000 jobs at an Air Force base in Macomb County because she went to see the president. People remember the picture of her putting the folder over her face. She saved 5,000 jobs for Michigan, and I think she's taken exactly the right approach. Certainly she's made it easy for us, and I'm not the kind of politician that gets into fights with people. I didn't get into fights with the president in his first term, and I'm not getting into fights with him now.
But when it comes to Detroit, though, specifically, Detroit has ordinances that generally align with sanctuary city policies. I mean, are you telling local law enforcement, if federal agents come in, do not cooperate with them on immigration operations?
Detroit is not a sanctuary city. Now, this Detroit Police Department doesn't enforce federal law. That's not our job. But if we arrest somebody for breaking and entering, we put their fingerprint in the system, and ICE calls and says that's an undocumented immigrant we've been looking for, we honor that detainer agreement. We did that under Obama. We did that under the first Trump administration. We did it under Biden. We're doing it today. So we're not a sanctuary city, and we're not drawing the kind of controversy other cities are.
You are running for governor. December of last year, you ditched the Democratic Party. You're a longtime Democrat. Now you're running as an independent for governor. And since You've been offering, I'm going to describe it as a pretty scathing rebuke of the Democratic Party. I've now heard you more than once say that the Democratic Party cares about two things. They hate Republicans in general, and they hate Donald Trump in particular, and they don't stand for anything else. Why? I mean, coming from now a former Democrat, why are the Democrats so bad?
Well, you go back to when I ran for mayor of Detroit in 2013, when the city was in bankruptcy. Half the street lights were on. You called 911 and the ambulance didn't show up for an hour. And as the city was declining, everything was us versus them, black versus white, city versus suburban politics. And I went to Detroit as we hadn't had a white candidate for mayor in 40 years.
Yeah.
I said, our problem is the politics of division. We're not as far away from turning the city around as we look. And the people of the city embraced me and have elected me
But are
3
Republicans
times.
doing anything different?
And so I look at what's happening in the state right now. And in Michigan, we just had a report more than 60% of third graders in Michigan don't read at grade level. And the Republicans and Democrats are fighting with each other. And there's no budget. The kids went back to school last week, and not one of the 4,000 schools has a budget because the Republicans and Democrats are fighting with each other. And I'm just trying to change politics. I changed it in Detroit in, I think, a positive way. And I think we need to change it in the state of Michigan.
But Mayor, do you really think that the Democratic Party stands for nothing?
Again, if you were to watch your show for the last 24 hours, most of the conversation of Republicans is why they hate Democrats, and almost all the conversation of Democrats is why Republicans are bad and why Trump is bad. When are we going to get somebody to come out and say, here's my affordable housing policy? That's what I'm doing. Here's my plan to educate third graders. That's what I'm doing in the state. And I've got huge numbers of people in rural areas and cities coming in saying, I'm not all one side or the other. I've been waiting for somebody to say there's a place for those of us who are in the middle.
An independent bid, an independent run, as always, comes with a lot of risk, but you are bringing in a lot of fundraising so far from the numbers I've seen. Mayor, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in.